Hello, beautiful women, and welcome to today's episode with Empowering Women with Celeste. And today I have a beautiful guest with me, Rachel, here who's going to share her story and her version of an empowered woman. So I'm very excited to hear about this. So, Rachel, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and your story.
All right. Thank you so much, Celeste. I'm so happy to connect with you again.
Yes.
I'm so happy to be here, and just I love that you have created this space. And it's always so inspiring to me. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Well, thank
much.
you. Thank you for coming on. It's all about the energy, right?
Yes, yes, it is. And I have a feeling we'll be talking a lot about energy today.
Oh yeah, yes, great. Well, I'm taking notes, so shoot. And I hope everyone else is too. A
Yeah.
glass of water and notes.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, hello everyone. My name is Rachel Pratarelli. I'm based here in New Mexico in the States, but my work is virtual. So that is the beauty of that realm, which I'm very thankful for. But I am a women's wellness coach, and also a yoga and meditation teacher. So through my business, Tranquilopa Wellness, I work with women to help them stop hating their bodies, and to go from a place of self-criticism to feeling empowered and confident and comfortable in their skin. Um, and I do this through my programs that combine both coaching and yoga practices, which includes like physical poses, but also meditation and breath work. So yeah, that's a little bit about, I used to work in the clinical world as a nurse practitioner, which I'm not sure in parts of Europe if that's recognized, but um, yeah, basically was working in the primary care setting here and was completely burnt out. I mean, just like, whoo, no, completely out of touch with who I was, what I was doing, what I was passionate about. I mean, just very like robotic days that led to my own pretty significant health and wellness issues. But that same thing also led me to my own experience with coaching and to also deepen my yoga and meditation practices, and really dive into the self-reflection inner work, which has me where I am today, which is in a way more abundant place than I was even like a few months ago. And of course, I'm still on this healing journey, as we always will be. So nothing is perfect, of course, but I'm so grateful for where I am now, the space I am now, and what I went through to get to where I am. So yeah,
And
as dark as
and
it seemed in that time, right?
exactly. And where is that? Like, where did you come from to where you are now? Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, um, I guess when we talk like related to our bodies, I really cannot remember a time when I did have a good relationship with my body, where I was like saying positive things or like felt comfortable or confident. But things really were heightened, I think, in the peak of my burnout, when I was working in the clinical setting. Um, and that manifested in a lot of different ways. That looked like, waking up and looking in the mirror and like, immediately like pinching, grabbing something, sucking something in. And like my mood is shaped by how I saw and felt in my body. And that trickled into my entire day. Um, I was also very depressed, was very low energy, which was really hard to function, of course, in that state. Um,
Do you think it
yeah, it
had
was not.
anything to do with that, like the body, how you were treating yourself and talking to yourself? Or was
I
it a
absolutely, yeah, Celeste, I absolutely think, I know it had to do with that, especially with what, like the knowledge that I've gained now and how powerful our self-talk and thoughts are. It's kind of like we don't realize how much it's connected, but because of things like the law of attraction, the law of energy and vibration, it makes sense why I was experiencing that physically, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and why it was so hard to get out of because it just kept the state I was in, the energetic frequency I was in was attracting more of that, So it's like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. And really until we understand that connection and how that works, and then the steps that we need to take to start rewiring our brain connections, our neuronal connections that have been so fixed, like so deeply embedded with repetition, whether that is telling yourself like, I'm ugly, I'm fat, my thighs are like, this is not beauty. The more we repeat those things, the more fixed those neural connections are in our brain. And that affects how we act and speak and interact in the world and our behavior. So that rewiring process also requires quite a bit of repetition, right? Like just as we learned those old patterns, we have to unlearn them and then relearn and repeat the new
yeah,
ones to bring you into a
definitely.
new space.
You can could you say like you have brainwashed yourself or let other people brainwash you into believing something and then you kind of have to brainwash yourself into changing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how you put that. Yeah. That's kind of like a strong word, but really I mean, yes, like that's what it is. Yeah. If you want to call it that,
It's just another way of
that
putting it, but yeah. Right.
is.
Okay, so it might be kind of off the batch, but why is it important that we are looking at ourselves and why is it important how we think about ourselves and why is it important how we feel about our body?
Mm, yeah. You know what, Celeste? I have realized in my own experience and my experience working with other women that how we feel in our bodies and how we talk and treat ourselves, and talk about our bodies specifically directly reflects to our how we see ourselves as far as worthy or how we are with self-love. In other words, if there is body shaming, there's almost always a lack of self-love or lack of self-worth, and that's at the root of everything. And that literally impacts everything in your life. That impacts the words you say to others, and therefore your relationships with others and the quality of those, right? It affects your work, how you show up in work, how
Could
you
you
show
come
up.
with some examples? Do you have any like practical or like examples like you've
Uh,
been talking about? How does it affect your
yeah.
relationship like really specifically?
Okay.
Just a
Yeah.
few
Yes.
few one.
Yeah. Totally. So let's see. Like for example, I guess like I'll use my experience. So when I was feeling really crummy about my body, and noticing that my mood was impacted, like from the very moment I woke up in the morning, um, this already sets your body at a low frequency, like energetically. So I guess I'll say back to energy really quick, just so that this makes sense. Everything in this world is made up of energy, which means that everything vibrates. So the difference is just, does it vibrate at a high frequency or a low frequency? And why does that matter? And that includes, so these things are, a chair, water, a plant, our bodies, emotions, all of these things do have their own frequency. And so when we're in like a self-criticizing, a shame, a guilt, self-deprecating state, those are all low frequency states. And so that we send out, like that is an energetic field around us that gets sent out, and the universe says, oh, okay, like I'm going to match that energy. So it sends things and opportunities, people, events that are of the same frequency back to you. And so, for example, if I'm going out, I leave the bathroom, I've gotten ready for the day, and I'm ready to head out, and my partner is here. Am I more likely to greet that partner with a big hugging kiss and a smile on my face, if I'm in a low frequency state, or am I more likely to, barely make eye contact, maybe say good morning, and then move throughout my day, right? And that person actually had nothing to do with how I'm feeling, right? But my external reality is a reflection of what's going on inside. And so, for example, like that would impact my relationship, and that did impact my relationship, right? Like how I showed up with my partner. Was I treating this person as they deserve to be treated, or was I projecting on, what my energy was? And even like that shows up at work too. Typically when we're in a certain frequency and we're not looking to shift out of it, even our simplest interactions with someone at like the grocery store, you're probably less likely to say, oh, how are you doing? Like, how's your day? And that sends a whole different frequency than, like, again, barely looking at them in the eyes, just
Or
like
complaining, bitching.
right, like even a snippy response.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That gets spread,
Yeah, it ripples, because they take it to the next one and the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now we're talking about the body specifically, so at least in my belief, and a lot of other people's belief, is that it becomes sickness. It can become both, mental, like depression, anxiety, but also like a physical sickness because of these negative thoughts, because of, I don't know, I guess a stagnant energy that kind of piles in the body.
Yes, exactly. That can show up in so many forms, because a lot of times what it is right, unexpressed emotions. That is energy. Again, that's energy, and that has to go somewhere. That has to be released. So if it's not expressed or released through, for example, words or a meditation practice or visualization or something, and we suppress it, ignore it, deny it, use something as a distraction, that builds up and that manifests in the body. So like I remember, for example, when I was kind of in the peak of my self-hatred, I also had like quite a bit of digestive health issues, hip pain also. That's actually pretty common for we hold a lot of emotions in our hips. So I'm not surprised, looking back that was the case.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I believe that especially women has a tendency to have issues with this because especially the negative emotions, is like we're not allowed to express them. We're not allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to be bitchy or to kind of express ourselves in certain emotions. Or at least that's where I come from. It's the good girl. You shouldn't be irritated. You shouldn't be get upset. You shouldn't be angry. You shouldn't do all of these things. Feel shame. Feel all of these things because, yeah, I don't know why really, but yeah, I think it's a especially for women.
Yes, absolutely, Celeste. And that kind of, that leads me into, like where these thought patterns and beliefs even come from. Like, for example, culturally, these things, we get programmed. We're essentially programmed with our beliefs and our thought patterns from childhood. And whether that is from our caregivers, from teachers, from media, social media, the news, anything. Our subconscious mind, which is our emotional mind, takes those in. Those are impressed upon the emotional mind. And the subconscious mind has no way of like rejecting or accepting. Like it takes in everything. And so again, with repetition, those become fixed. And so we start to have these, I can't speak up, or because I'm a woman, or I'm not supposed to be, I can't complain or I can't express my emotions. Um, and so, yeah, it's really a matter of like, oh, I do see myself telling myself that. It's like very, very much so, okay, I need to become aware of this first. To then even start to make, to rewrite those, like you absolutely can rewrite them, those thought patterns and beliefs. But so much of us we go through life on autopilot because they've become so ingrained and so second nature to us that it's familiar. It's even though we may not like it because it may not align with our like personal values, right? But it's because it's become a program. It's become programmed in us,
So can
conditioned.
you, yeah, can you give me some examples of like how did you start to release your emotions? Like what have you done? How have you changed some of these things?
Yeah. So my personal first step was I needed to leave my work environment.
So
And
get
sometimes,
physically like move yourself out of a
yes,
situation.
it was a
Mm.
physical environmental switch for me, which may not be the case for everyone, or accessible to everyone. But I knew that I needed that because I needed not only the space and the time to literally just breathe, but I also wanted to transition out of that career. And so that was my first step.
Mm.
Um, if you find that that is something that's accessible, doable, and feasible for you, um, I encourage you to do that. But I realize that that may not be possible for everyone. Um, and then it was really, I like when I say deepened my yoga and meditation practice, I studied it more in depth, and it became much more of a regular practice for me. Um, and did start to do, for example, starting with a daily gratitude practice, which I remember, you know, always hearing about this, like, oh, give gratitude,
Hmm.
like what? Like, yes. But I really started to embrace it and see its value with the consistency and the repetition. Because the interesting thing about gratitude, so when we give gratitude, right, we're acknowledging and being thankful for what we already have, not what we lack. And a lot of times when we are talking about like body, trying to go from self-criticism to accepting our bodies first and then loving, um, it is it's that reaction is coming from a place of lack. Like, what do I not have? I don't have so and so's body. I don't have this. I don't have that. But it's like, whoa, what do I actually have? Like, I am living in abundance. There is so much here. Whether that can be the smallest thing, that can be waking up and oh my God, I'm breathing again. Like, yes, I get to spend
Yes.
another day on this earth. To a big thing like this, the relationship you have with someone, or a trip you're going on. Um, and gratitude is one of those high frequency states. And so that already immediately lifts you out of, if you are, for example, feeling, disappointment, shame, criticism, it immediately raises your frequency. And so that aligns your energy with what the universe, um, it starts to attract what more into your life of what you're grateful for, because you're already raising your frequency. And so that practice made a huge difference in my life. And I recommend starting the day with it. Sometimes that requires us like, setting the alarm like 5 minutes earlier. But it already kind of sets the tone for your day, and so
Yeah.
writing out 5 things that you're grateful for, um,
So just
is
writing them down, literally writing them
yes,
down. Yeah.
I do recommend writing them down. I mean, if you do want to, some people record them as well, like say them out loud, record them and then like listen to it later in the day. I like to write it down because there is the physical component, the mind-body connection when we do write,
Hmm.
and see it out loud. And then it's important to get emotionally involved in those too, not just like spitting them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of like the first big, other than like leaving my physical environment, and then also like the whole deepening my yoga and meditation practice. But all of that, like yoga and meditation and breath work, are practices that ground us into the present moment. And the beauty of that is, you know, we become more connected with what is actually happening instead of lost in our thoughts, which we spend most of the day, whether we realize it or not, consciously or not. There's a stream of thought that goes on throughout the day, and most of
Mm-hmm.
the time it's negative, right? Like we're not
Yeah.
saying like, oh yeah, like I really like love my shirt today, or
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I've heard it's like 90,000 thoughts or 60,000 or something like that. I don't remember
oh my
exactly,
gosh.
but it's a lot.
Wow.
And I also heard that, or some people, some of the, smart people say that that 90% of our thoughts are the same. So we repeat the same thoughts every day. So, and that could be why it's hard to change. Like, it doesn't just come from one day to another. It's like you say, repetition. You have to, yeah, gradually like do it again and again and again because it takes so much time to change all of those thoughts.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Yeah. I'm not surprised with that statistic, especially with the repetition of thoughts. Um, because our brains love familiarity, so it's like if that is one thought that you've been saying to yourself for so many years, that feels normal and familiar and home for your brain. And that's what it likes. It likes that security. And so that's why also when you do start like a gratitude practice or an affirmation practice, it can feel like you're lying to yourself. It can feel like, I don't believe this, right? Because that's your brain being like, no, we have had these set things for so many years. What are you trying to do, girl?
Mm,
But
yeah,
that
it
is
can
so,
feel almost scary to actually having have all the positive. If you're used to the negative, it's, at least that's my experience, it can be feel very scary to take in all of those positive thoughts and all this confidence because you don't know what to
yeah,
do with it. It's so different, it's so overwhelming maybe.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's unfamiliar territory. It's unfamiliar physically in the body because your brain, once you do start to have these new thoughts, new neuronal connections are forming, and that also produces new or new quantities of neurotransmitters and hormones in the body that more align with like positive feelings and emotions. And so your body's like, whoa, this is unfamiliar territory, like you're saying. And your brain is trying to protect you with what it's familiar with, right? But um, with the repetition, that's when the old neural connections and the old patterns start to actually literally die off, and you replace the new ones with the new thought patterns, and that becomes your new default, let's say.
Exactly, and that can
Um,
take some time. So I guess
yes.
patience is a very important
Woo. Yes.
skill to
Yes.
remember.
Yes. Patience, and I would say compassion with yourself, because
Yes.
like in my personal experience, like, I have definitely gotten like frustrated, like, oh, there's that thought again, or like, there'll be days where you're like, I don't wanna give gratitude, but then literally once you do, it's just, again, it's the law of energy. It has to happen. It has to turn into form. And so yeah, it's just giving yourself some grace, having patience, and
Exactly.
being
And if you
compassionate.
skip a day or miss a day or you don't really feel it, that's okay because there's always another day and maybe you're just not meant to do it that day. I know, at least that's how I live, what I live by.
Right, and not like beating yourself up about it, right? Because that's kind of
Mm,
like working backwards, right? Like we know that you can't fight hate with hate. So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
finding.
That's one of the things I've been working a lot on the last years, beating myself up because I'm very hard on myself, or again
Mm,
have been. So that's one of the things, like how do you cope
yeah.
with all of this? How do you, yeah, throughout the day, if you find yourself beating yourself up, or you feel depressed for some reason because you had a thought about your body, that your thighs were getting thick or whatever,
Mm,
how do you
yes.
cope with it?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And it's interesting because like now, because I am so like hyper vigilant of my thought process now, because I have kind of built this muscle, I would say where I am right now, my default is like my default is transitioning into gratitude. And so when I do see those negative thoughts or hear them, or like I feel it in my body, you know, I have noticed now that my thoughts like immediately switch to, okay, what is something I'm grateful for right now? And I'm coming back to this gratitude because it's accessible. Like I can do this anywhere, I can do this
Mm.
in the car, I can do this sitting here, like
Yeah, just
wherever.
thinking about it. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And that really grounds me again. So I would say that, and then also what is very fruitful to me is taking a conscious breath. So, and that can be just sitting, like finding a quiet space, sitting down or lying down and just closing your eyes and taking a deep breath through your nose and exhaling through your nose. And watching the path through which you inhale. So, like, really noticing the sensations, like when it hits my nose, does my chest expand? Is my abdomen expanding? Really actually coming back into the body instead of being like lost up here, right? So, like, coming and
Mm.
bringing us back into the body is extremely grounding for when we are noticing we're starting to go down that rabbit hole, or you're noticing like I'm not feeling well. How do I
Mm.
get out of this? Right. And so taking that conscious breath can be super helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I do breath work too, so I'm a big fan.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and it's also, it's, well, scientifically, because, I'm a little nerdy, but when you breathe out, your brain, it's biologically, or however to say it, it shifts into the was it parasympathetic nervous system. It
Nice.
it your body has to kind of relax. So when you take those deep breaths, the
Mm.
deeper breaths you can take, the deeper you can kind of relax your nervous system, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that is right. That's the base of, I mean, any of this like grounding practice, whether that is, taking a minute to do a certain yoga pose or doing a certain style of breath work, or meditating, that is all, yeah, that's all activating. Even giving gratitude, like that is activating the parasympathetic
Yeah,
nervous system, which is our relaxation
exactly. And
system.
it takes a second. You don't have to
Right.
spend like 30 minutes every day. It takes 2 seconds. So like there are no excuses. Just
Yes.
do it. It's only gonna be good for you.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't require any like, yeah, doesn't require money. It doesn't require
No,
time.
or any tools,
You're
or yeah.
right. Right.
Yeah, it's you
Yes.
already have it. You always have it.
Yes. 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 Yeah. And I mean, and that's part of the befriending our body trend like process, right? Because we can, once we do start to realize like our innate wisdom and all the power that we do have within, we can access these things easily. But that is really hard to do when, one, you don't have a great relationship with your body or yourself, and you kind of see yourself as like almost, I don't know, the enemy, like almost so disconnected from yourself. it can be hard to even like trust yourself, like, why would I do that? Or but we can utilize this vessel, this body, this vessel to help with our emotional and mental states, right? And enjoy this life, feel more empowered, feel more comfortable, feel more confident, instead of looking at it as something we're constantly dissatisfied with or unhappy with. But it is a process. It is a process.
A lifelong process for
A
some
lifelong
people. Yeah.
process. Yes.
For some of us, we have certain life lessons that we have to spend our life learning, and we get better and better, but it's going to be a challenge all the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's gonna be times when you like veer off the track, right? And that's okay. Like that's also why I love and appreciate the process of coaching too, because when you do have that support, you know, it's to help bring you back. And that's gonna constantly happen when
It's a lot
we
easier.
like that in
Now,
life, right?
yeah, and now I love what you said about support, because something that has come up a lot, at least from what I see, is that people are, especially women, noticing that we tend to, kind of fight each other, because we envy each other, and we are looking at someone and you think, oh, she's so beautiful, or I want what she wants, and then we kind of bitch on each other, like you say, come and complain and so on, instead of, supporting each other and actually helping each other and say, oh, you have this thing I want, can you help me get it? Instead of being, oh, she's just she's a gold digger, or whatever terms you have for things like that, but actually supporting and creating the space where we are more, because like you say, the more we are, the easier it is to kind of get into that space and get this practice. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, God, that's such a beautiful vision, because yes, I feel like more often than not, what we see is this tearing each other down, and like this constant comparing your body to this body, and what is quote unquote beautiful and what's not, and these emotions like envy and jealousy and hatred ultimately build up, instead of, wow, like what if we were to actually uplift each other,
Exactly.
support each other, and not in like, and not from like a place of I don't know what the word would be. Like not from a place of like not feeling forced or like false, but like actually seeing and valuing the uniqueness of literally every body and everybody. Like it is, but again, I like the very first step, like it has to start with you. Like it is so much inner work. In order for us to change our external reality, we have to start with our internal reality, which is uncomfortable. It's challenging. It is something we're not used to. But if we really want to make like long-term changes, and have this ripple effect in our immediate circle and also in the world, like ultimately sharing this vision of women supporting women, it really has to start within. And I know we hear that a lot, but I truly believe it now because I'm living it. So I am such a big proponent of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of think of it, or you can see it as like a cheerleader. Like be a cheerleader to yourself and be a cheerleader to others. Like celebrate with others. Like instead of be frustrated or jealous, instead say, oh my God, that's great, congratulations, or that's amazing, how did you do that, can you help me, if it's something you want, instead of taking each other down,
Yes,
helping each
exactly.
other, lifting each other up. But I think it's something that's coming, because I see it in different communities and in different ways, both like financial and mental, and a lot of other physical where women are specifically helping each other because, especially financial, right? Investing. Not a lot of women do that, and we have this. Is not to make a commercial out of it or anything, but it's Female Invest. There before them, it was only men and men talking to women, but I see this tendency now that we're more into women helping women and women teaching women instead of, yeah, however the old way is, where it's some areas where men are
Yes.
like, this is the area, this is what they do, which is great, but now we see more women also kind of taking that lead and helping other women to become more independent, especially in
Nice.
finance. Like,
Yes.
was it in the 70s where women couldn't own an account? They needed to have a father or husband
Yeah.
to have an account. Now we can do it. So there are all of these little changes. They're
Yeah.
coming, but yeah, slowly growing.
Yeah. No, I love that you brought that up, Celeste, because it is important to recognize, right, where we've come from and where are we now. Like, I would definitely say leaps and bounds. So yes, gratitude for that, because that's huge,
Exactly. So
right?
we're becoming more independent.
Mm,
We're not relying on men to, for everything. We don't need a husband to survive like we did 100 years ago.
mm,
It's both. Oh, I would say it's actually positive. That now we just have to figure out and learn how to still be with a man, but independently, and kind of still having uh, our separate lives, but living together. So that's the next step, I think.
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, out of context. But yeah, that's just
No, I think
bringing it in.
totally related. Totally related. It's
Great,
all related, right?
great. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Like you say, it all
yeah.
connects somehow. It's like I usually kind of say it's like a spider web. Everything is connected. Even though you're pulling one string, it's still affecting the entire web.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. That's a beautiful imagery. Like that is the rippling effect because it does. It truly does. Everything is connected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so any last words? Anything you want to share with these women, an advice or a life lesson or something that you
Mhm.
have that you always like to share, or
Yeah. I just want to send my love out to all you women, you beautiful women. Um, Regardless of where you are at with your relationship to your body and yourself, um, I want you to know that one, I am here for you, and that there are so many other women out here that are supporting you, even though it may feel like you're alone. I totally relate to that. But know that we are here and that it is possible to change how you're feeling, with relation to your body, with relation to yourself. Um, it is possible. There are tools, there are methods, and you can start from anywhere. Like it doesn't require you to be in any, mental state or emotional state. It is there, it is accessible and ready and yeah, it is accessible to you here and now. Um, and so just know that and just know you're loved. You are not your body, you are not your thoughts. You're so much more than that. So yes.
exactly, so much, oh, so important. The last thing you said, you're not your thoughts, you're not your
Mm.
body. Yeah, very, very important. And also uh, getting help. Just touch upon how again, there are people here to support you. If you reach out to
Mm.
Facebook, say, hey, I'm feeling so depressed, anyone want to go out with me, cheer me up, you will get some people who are like, of course I will. Sometimes we
Mm.
kind of tend to isolate ourselves and think that, oh, nobody
Mm.
wants to help me. But if you reach out, especially in places like this, or you have a Facebook group or wherever where you have women, yeah, some sort of support group, reach out, and there will be someone helping you, because like you said, you're not alone.
Yes. Yeah. And I found that time and time again, it's chances are someone else is having a similar experience to you. Everyone has their unique experiences, of course, right? But whether that is like, I'm struggling with this, or I've been thinking this, or I've been wanting to do this, but I can't, there's a very high likelihood that someone else is going through that. And so taking that step to reach out, whether it is a Facebook, whether it is getting help and support from coaching, you
Yeah,
know, that that is so critical and that is so key.
exactly. And like you said, professional. If you're really in
Mhm.
a desperate mood, get professional help.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a friend is good, and they can kind of take you
Mhm.
down. But if you really want to change, you really want the deep transformation, you probably need some professional help.
Right. Yeah. Which is more than likely going to be kind of like a longer term, right? Like there isn't really a quick fix. I know we talked about
Mm,
like some accessible, quick tools to use, which is definitely a game changer in and of itself.
yeah,
But to make like those long-term changes that, yeah, like we said, it's going to require time and it is going
yeah.
to require effort.
Repetition and patience, like we also talked about. Yeah, it's not a
Right.
quick
Right.
fix, but it's a life changer. If you can say
Yes,
that.
I would
Yeah.
say it's definitely one that's worth it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and that's when we can say that when we're on the other side, like
Right.
it's hard, it's horrible, it's you have to go through all of these ups and downs, and life is gonna kick you down, and you have to get up and so on, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, yes, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure having you, and I hope to see you again on
Thank you so
on another call.
much.
And so for everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed it too. Please give it a like if you did. If you have any questions or anything that resonated with you, please give it a comment. If you want to reach out to Rachel, I will put the links down in the description. Subscribe if you want to listen to more, and I'll see you next time. Bye.